Om Shanti and welcome to this evening's creative yoga session with Bhavesh. Bhavesh will be taking us through gentle movement, breathing exercises and meditation experiences with a collection of poetry, art and wisdom. Bhavesh is a student and practitioner of yoga for over 15 years. He has a passion for outdoor life and to be in harmony with nature, sparking his creativity with a calm, warm and engaging energy. Over to you, Bhavesh.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this creative yoga session. So, as Nimisha said, there'll be a variety of different things we'll be doing this session, hence making it as creative as possible. So, to begin with, I just want to have a quick recap of what we've done. So, the foundation of all of this is Raja Yoga, and Raja Yoga is a meditation which inspired the creativity for myself. So, just the recap again is. First point I find is in order to come into that meditative state, in order to be a yogi, it's all about having a balance between what's happening inside as also what's happening on the external. So if we get too drawn into the external, we become under an influence. So learning to observe ourselves. This is the beginnings of yoga, seeing the connection with ourselves, with the external, but also making that connection with ourselves. So there are two levels of consciousness. One is I am a body, playing, physically in this materialistic world. And the other one is I am a soul residing in the body. Now this particular awareness of the self dictates to which level of consciousness we're in. Soul within a body is that higher level of consciousness where we are able to observe and play our parts as it's a part that we're playing, almost like in a drama, a play that's being enacted. Whereas if we get caught up in the role, what happens then is it feels like everything's real and there's an adrenaline and there's an up and a down in our emotional state and all sorts, because it feels like this is it. In actual fact, when I see myself as a soul, I am beyond the influence of what's happening on the physical sometimes. But the thing here is we tend to forget. From time to time we tend to forget and we slip back into that lower level of consciousness. This is why we have to create this shift on a regular basis and create a practice of this shift. And then another aspect of Raj Yoga. So firstly, balance between internal and external, knowing our identity. The next level is what makes it Raj Yoga or spiritual yoga, is our connection with divinity. If we observe and see, there's actually divinity all around us. Now, however we see divinity, we may see it as a benevolent force of the universe, something that's greater than ourselves. Or we can see as a divine being from a particular point. So this image behind me represents the soul, our identity. Within the body, it's still seated about there, because all the controls of the body are the sense organs of the body. So it's seated there. So a good way to get a sense of the soul is to learn to switch off or not be as influenced through the senses of the body, not to get drawn into the senses. We take that moment to step inwards, then we can get a sense of the soul. And the next step was divinity, making that connection with divinity. And when we have that connection, we're always drawing a strength, drawing a power, drawing an energy, which then actually keeps us in a very uplifted state. And if we're not in an uplifted state, the benevolent force of the universe, nature in itself, is serving our best interests. So this was the next little point that we sort of talked about. Nature is serving our best interests. It's not serving our greed, but it's definitely serving our need. And everything is so interconnected of how everything sort of works in terms of that. So we went through each element of nature, from Mother Earth that supports that nourishes. Then we had coolness of water that purifies and cleans. Then we had fire, which transforms our energy from something that may be hurt to something that's full of energy, or transforms our attitude from something that's hurt to something that has gratitude. Air is a judge that's just and fair. It's like the relationship of a friend we could always be honest with. So being honest with ourselves is the quality of air, and this is all part of our healing nature. We cannot really heal if we're not honest with ourselves. And then finally, ether, space, making that connection beyond. And then final thing we looked at last time round was all about appreciating our own journey, the highs, the lows, the ups and the downs. And these are the main key learning points. So if you wish to see this talk that we did last time, there's a lot of poetry shared in that one. Namisha is just going to put up a link to the YouTube channel where you can view that in full if you wish. But that was just a brief overview of what we've already covered before. So these sessions can be interlinked, but there can also be drop-in sessions as well. So I thought, because this is the first session, the theme's going to be laying the foundation. I'll also just talk through, in this particular one, what the main format will be as we go forwards. As this is laying the foundation, I'll just be sharing one poem and talking through everything that goes with that. But on a standard session, we're going through two poems. Within Raja Yoga itself, there are four main subjects. And we're sort of following these subjects as we go through the format of this particular exercise or these creative meditations. So within Raja Yoga, the first subject is known as knowledge. Knowledge is information. If we're not aware of something, we can't really create a yogic state behind it. So the first subject is knowledge, the understanding. So this would be the part where I would share the poem or share the poetry, and then some wisdom behind the poem. The next step is known as yoga. So basically we take the ideas that are shared in the wisdom and the poetry, and then we create an atmosphere and energy, whether that's done through breathing exercises, maybe a physical posture, or a meditative experience. So that is known as yoga. And when we practice having yoga with these ideas that are fresh awarenesses that we're developing, the next stage is known as, it's a Hindi word, the word is dharana. And dharana sort of means to inculcate or to imbibe, to make it our own. So understanding knowledge from one level is one thing, but actually to bring it into our lives, and there's a transformation happening within ourselves. This is known as dharana, to actually inculcate. So these are the first three steps, the first three subjects of Raja Yoga. We have knowledge, then we have having yoga with that knowledge, which then actually helps us to imbibe, to bring into our characteristics, into our personality. And then the final subject is service. So what we have learnt and developed within ourselves is to use that to maybe share ideas with other people. However, this is the reason why this is the final subject is because knowledge, yoga, and dharana is known as the service for the self. So if we try and serve others without doing the service for ourselves, it may end up being disservice. It may end up having the wrong effect. We may have the best of intentions, but if we're not an embodiment of it ourselves, then we can't really tell anybody else to do something that we don't do ourselves. So service is something that comes later on down the line, but it always starts with self-service. In actual fact, when we serve ourselves and make this internal shift ourselves, it actually leaves an imprint on the external naturally. So self-service is actually serving others anyway. So this balance of serving the self through knowledge, yoga, dharana, and then service happens. So maybe it could be just sharing, this is a wonderful talk, and raising the awareness of this talk if you find benefit in it. So that could be service as well. Service could be a smile, could be your example. So service is done in many different ways. It doesn't have to be literally sitting somewhere and talking or telling somebody you should be doing this. So service is simply being an embodiment and sharing a vibration, which then actually naturally helps people to shift. Okay, so that's basic understanding of the subjects of Raja Yoga. And within our normal sessions, because this is the first one, it's going to be slightly different, but within our normal sessions, this is the sort of format we'll follow. So the knowledge part is sharing of poetry and the wisdom behind the poem. Then we'll go and take you into an experience in yoga through a meditation exercise, a breathing exercise, or some gentle movement. And then inculcation part. The inculcation part is all about understanding and then bringing it into our lives. So there'll be an opportunity for people to ask questions or make comments and things like that. So the chat box is open. If at any point you wish to make a statement or ask a question, you can write it into there, and Namisha will keep an eye on that and inform me as we go along. It's good that way rather than interrupting, because then my flow gets disrupted. So this is a good place to use the chat box to ask questions or make statements if you wish, if something comes up for yourselves. So that's that there for to do. So we want to try and make this as interactive as possible, and that sort of helps with our dharana, that inculcation or becoming the embodiment of the knowledge. So this is the process for serving the self. Okay. So we're all happy with how things are going to work. So in a normal session, I'd be going through 2 poems, one, and then we'll go through that process, and then we'll do another poem, and we'll go through that process. But as today's the first one, and I spent time sort of explaining this in a bit of detail and going over the recap of the foundations of what Raj Yoga is, we'll probably just do one poem and go through the details of that. Before we do that, there was another thing I wanted to do about laying the foundation. So we're going to start off with a breathing exercise. As you know, the current condition of the world, and many people are suffering, and life goes through its ups and downs and all sorts of different things. But one thing that stays with us through our life is our breath. Everything else changes. So the parts that we play, you can see part as actually being almost like an acronym. So P could stand for possessions that we have, and possessions we gain, possessions we lose. But if we get caught up with a possession, our energy gets blocked somewhere, or we become attached to a particular chair, and if somebody insults my chair, it's almost like they're insulting me. So possessions is one thing that we can get stuck into, but learning to see it as, it's something that comes, it's something that goes, that helps us to stay and maintain our yogic state of mind, our state of mind that is free from creating attachments or creating stockages or blockages in places. That's P. A is for achievements. So maybe today we've achieved something and it's a big deal to us. But let's say 2-3 years down the line, those achievements can become irrelevant. But if we hold on to our past achievements, look at the past, I was like this and I did this, we're getting stuck in the past again, and we're not appreciating the present moment. So achievements are great, whatever achievements we gain, but it shouldn't feed any ego in any sense. So achievements is another thing. We play our parts, we all achieve, but in the end, if we want to maintain an energy flow, We have to let go of past achievements, so then new achievements can come in its place. The R, we all know what the R stands for, really, don't we? Because this is a big thing that happens in the world. The R is relationships. We all know all relationships begin and all relationships end. But if you take too much dependency on a relationship, or actually moving into a position or a place, I mean, supporting each other and taking care of, being interdependent, belonging to a community is a good thing. But if we become to a point where we're depending on somebody for something all the time, we get stuck. And that moves us away from our natural yogic state again. So P, possessions. A, achievements. R, relationships. So these are the games of life. They're for us to play with. But if we get stuck in them, then we go through the ups and downs, get caught up into the materialistic things. And the T, because the part of a yogi is all to learn how to impartially observe. The T is our own thoughts and feelings that create cyclic thought patterns in our mind. Thoughts and feelings or habitual ways of thinking of our past that we've picked up from somewhere. Because we've picked them up, we can actually let them go. We can actually let them go. So the breathing exercise I would like to do with everybody is, naturally we get stuck somewhere if our lives become messy. So there's two kind of bodies. Well, there's three bodies. There's the physical body. You can call the soul a body in itself as well. But there's another body in between. And this body is known as our energetic body. The energetic body in itself is, sometimes people kind of sleep hours on end and still feel tired because their energetic body is stuck or blocked or something's wrong somewhere. There's other people that work so many hours and can be so active and hardly, have to sleep minimum amount of hours and still have fresh amounts of energy. These are people who learn to live in the present, learn to have a quiet and still mind. And then what happens is their energy is continually overflowing because they don't get stuck somewhere. So understanding what this energetic body is, it's the same image of us, but it's like a body of light, a subtle body. And there's a particular breathing exercise within Hatha Yoga, they call it Nadi Shodhana. And Nadi represents energy channels. The word Nadi, it could be the physical energy channels like the tendons, the arteries and the veins that pump blood around the body. It could be even smaller energy channels like the nerves. It could be even just oxygen channels where oxygen is passed through the tissues of the body. So this is another sign that I remember as a young child, we all grew up thinking we want to have good health and have the sign of good health. But what is good health was the question at the time, and good health was seen as being strong or being fast or being agile or being able to balance or being flexible. All these are signs of good physical fitness. But in the end, all the tissues in the body are connected. And if there's a lack of oxygen going to the body, then bad health is what happens. Bad health comes about because there's a lack of energy going to particular parts of the body. Another thing that I picked up was cancerous cells occur because of the lack of oxygen going to that particular part of the body. So in actual fact, the sign of good health is simply how open our energetic body is, that allows energy to flow around the system, the physical system. But there's also like a non-physical system that's happening as well. So using our breath is a good way. There's a few exercises. So Nadi means energy channels. Within Hatha Yoga, they say there's 72,000 energy channels within the body. Just imagine that. The body itself has 72,000 energy channels. Big ones, small ones, physical ones, non-physical ones. So this breathing exercise that I'd like to practice with you is called Nadi Shodhana. Shodhana in itself, the word, it means to purify, to unblock, to detoxify. This particular breathing exercise is used to clear energy channels physically, but also on a subtle level within our energetic body. So let's start with this breathing exercise to begin with, sitting up comfortably. And as we know, this condition in the world attacks our breath. So actually to really appreciate our breath as we breathe in and out, and taking conscious breathing really helps us to understand and stay hopeful. Because our nervous system, or our immune system itself, when we stop being hopeful, is when our immune system starts to shut down. There's these, people have done studies about how physical, mental states have an effect on the body. So this is one thing that just to be aware of. If we lose hope at any point, it has an effect on the body. Our immune system starts not being as efficient as it should be. So stay hopeful. And we'll practice this breathing exercise. What I would like you to do is just get your hands, palms facing down, just place them on the abdomen for now. Another thing is just to lengthen the spine as much as possible. That way energy channels are open and energy can flow freely through the body. Another thing that can happen, if our posture does this, energy channel is blocked, and oxygen doesn't actually reach our prefrontal cortex. So our ability to impartially observe diminishes. So to impartially observe our own bodies, it's really important to just simply, the benefit itself of just sitting up tall and just rolling our shoulders back to create space for channels of energy to flow correctly. So for now, just placing the hands on the abdomen, lengthen the spine, rolling the shoulders back and down, lifting the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. If you wish to bring your awareness inwards, you can do. And we're going to bring our breath down to our abdomen. So as we inhale, we're going to inflate the abdomen like a balloon. And as we exhale, sucking the abdomen back towards the spine. Inhaling. And exhaling. Maybe pause for a moment in between, appreciating each and every breath. Inhaling. And then exhaling. So now we're going to take slightly deeper breaths, a bit of movement with the arms as well. So turning the palms to face up towards the face. As we inhale, we're just going to lift the arms up, so inflating the abdomen, and then bring the breath into the chest, maybe feeling into the shoulders, maybe into the throat. And then as we exhale, bringing the arms back down, breath releases from the throat, the shoulders, the chest, sucking the abdomen back towards the spine. And once again, inhaling, inflate the abdomen, bringing the breath into the chest, into the shoulders, into the throat. And then as we exhale, shoulders, chest, throat, sucking the abdomen back towards the spine. A few more times in your own time. 3 breaths. Appreciate the breath for the valuable work it does. And keeping ourselves in good health. And just bring your breath back to normal now. So this is just the preparation to doing Nadi Shodhana. So in itself, Throughout the day, observe how we're breathing. Appreciate the breath is one thing, stay hopeful, but breathing deep to the abdomen, using the chest, shoulders, throat. Maybe every now and then sit down and just observe your breathing. And this observation, because there's a link to our mental state and what happens to our breath. There's too much detail there, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But simply learning to deepen our breath in this way helps us maintain a peaceful mindset, a meditative mindset, which actually then gives us a lot more energy throughout our days, because we're naturally keeping our energy channels within the body open. So the first part of Nadi Shodhana, what we're going to do is with our right hand, just bring the thumb in and the two smaller fingers in, and just using these two peace fingers, we're just going to place them to the forehead. And then using our thumb of the right hand, we're going to block off the right nostril. And we're going to do the same exercise again. We're just breathing through one nostril, staying as calm as possible. No need to do it quickly. And we can probably use our left hand to do that same exercise again. So as we inhale, abdomen, chest, shoulders, and then exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We're lengthening, slowing and deepening the breath as much as possible. We're going to do it to a couple of counts this time. So inhaling for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Final time. Inhale for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Releasing the arms down. Just come back to your normal breathing. So this practice simply helps to clear energy channels, but at the same time we're changing the way we breathe through our lives. I remember watching these videos once. The first thing they teach at monk school is how to breathe to little children, and getting the breathing right from a young age serves you for the rest of your life. So and imagine how people's mental states are the way they are because simply it's affected their breathing. So we'll try this again. Normally with that side, doing it with the left side. Left side is all to do with the moon, a cooling energy, bringing a relaxed state of mind. So we're going to do it with the right side now. So the same exercise. Thumb, fingers in, using those two fingers, placing them on the forehead. This time around we're going to use that ring finger to close off the left nostril. And then doing the same exercise again. Inhaling. And then exhaling. So inhaling, abdomen rises, bringing the breath into the chest, into the shoulder blades, into the throat. Exhaling, throat, chest, shoulders, abdomen. Inhaling. And then exhaling. With the count this time around, inhaling for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhaling for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then releasing the arms down, coming back to your normal breathing. And what you may notice is your normal breathing may start changing as well. You naturally start taking longer, slower, deeper breaths, which then also helps to keep a very peaceful mindset. Just observing our breathing, taking a breath, taking a moment in our day to take a breath. It's really important. So now that the right side is all about energy, represented by the sun. The left side is all about relaxation, represented by the moon. So it's all about keeping a balance between our left and our right side. So this is a recommendation if you wish to practice to help keep high positive energy levels throughout our days. In the mornings, if we're struggling to get out of bed, we'll do one more breathing exercise, but this time we're going to switch the nostrils. So coming back to that same position, thumb, fingers come in, using those two fingers, placing them on the forehead. So blocking off the right nostril with the thumb. So inhaling for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switching around, so blocking off the left nostril with the ring finger. Exhaling for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once again switching, blocking off the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switching over, exhaling for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhaling, switching and inhaling. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then exhaling. 1, switching and exhaling. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then release the arms down and coming back to your natural breathing. So as it's evening time, we did this version where we're inhaling through the left and then exhaling through the right. So the cycle of breath is going like this. This naturally brings a relaxed state of mind. So if we're struggling to go to sleep at night or we need to get more relaxation, this is the system we use, inhaling through the left, exhaling through the right. However, in the mornings, if we're struggling to get up or we're struggling with our energy levels, then we would reverse that and go the other way around, because the right side is all about energy. So we'd inhale through the right and then exhale through the left. Inhale through the right and exhale through the left. We've done enough breathing exercises now, so I'm sure you can do that in your own time. But this is just a good thing to be aware of. We're struggling with our sleeping patterns. Or we need extra energy during the day, and coffee is good, but too much coffee is not good for you. So this is a natural way of gaining some energy. Okay, but it also, the main benefit of this, we haven't done the full Nadi Shodhana yet, because then we'll do that another day. But for now, as long as we understand what's happening and the benefits of doing this, is we're keeping our energy levels balanced, the energy and relaxation level balanced. So it serves us better through our days, helps us stay present rather than getting stuck anywhere, clears blockages in our energy channels of the body. And this very nicely links on to our first poem. So as it was the first day, I wanted to set this foundation of what a yogic lifestyle is like. So apologies if it's just one poem today, but from future programs onwards, it'll be 2 poems. And then we'll go through that same process of knowledge, yoga, inculcation, and then that's serving ourselves. Okay, so Nimisha is going to put up the artwork for this particular poem. And it very nicely links into what we've already done. Yep, that's the one. This poem is called Intoxication of Creation. Om Shanti. Om Shanti is I am an embodiment of peace. There is a place beyond time and space, where there is no race, just a cool embrace. At the start of creation, there is only intoxication, coming from the seed. At first, we never bleed, full of joy, innocent, like the playing of little boys. But when desire strikes, we get locked in with spikes. From equality, there is morality, then a difference, inequality. From respect so fair, now we stop and stare. When we get caught in the game, the respect gets lame. First, as noble wishes, turns to global misses. But when we are down, the supreme comes around from the blissful one. But we never miss this one. However, all turn to him in times of pain to regain our sane. We may have defamed, but in the end we all reclaim. His vision never changes, always above the ranges. Says, sweetest children, don't lose sight of that world of light. See the aim, true regard is never lame. Fill yourself with virtue and power. Stop the feeling of cower, ever above protected in this high tower. Om Shanti. So that's in, we'll leave the image up again, so while we do the first little wisdom sharing on this particular image. So as you can see, it's an image of a tree. Now, I'm a big nature lover. I'm around trees quite a lot and spend most of my times outdoors. So this is a very interesting image, and it's all about how we are all connected. Every single soul on the planet, animals, nature, everything's connected. So even if we don't have any company or relationships, we still have a relationship with nature, because our breath, the atmosphere, is a relationship with nature in itself. So I'll explain this connection, firstly giving you the physical image of a tree and the life cycle of a tree. The tree starts with, as you can see the little smiley face in the image, starts with the seed. And from the seed, the first thing that emerges from the seed are its roots. So nothing happens on the top, but roots are the first thing that emerge. So before the seed can express itself, it has to be planted. It has to be planted in the soil. So once it's planted in the soil, it starts to express itself. And the first expression from a physical tree is not upwards, but actually downwards to create the foundation. And this is the, as we were talking about today, that the theme of today is laying our foundation. And our foundation starts with our breath on a physical level, but then our breath impacts maintaining a peaceful mind. So that's the foundation, the roots rooting down into the ground. And once the roots have established themselves, then the stem emerges. And to begin with, the stem always just moves in one direction. It's one stem. And then it comes to a point where there's a division and the stems split and become branches. And then the branches split further, and split further, and split further until it becomes a beautiful tree. And each branch expresses itself in its own unique and special way, because each branch in the end is connected to the seed. And then on each branch, what we have growing are flowers, fruits, leaves. All sorts of different creativity comes from the seed. The energy from the seed is feeding the roots, the trunk, the branches, the flowers, the leaves, the fruit. It all comes from the seed. Because it's planted, it serves the whole tree. The energy goes to the whole tree. But then there comes a point when the tree gets very old, very big, with so many branches, so much expansion, that it starts to decay. I don't know if you notice about trees, but the decay is not seen on the external. The bark, the protection of the tree is always there to protect it. The decay is something that starts internally. The decay starts internally in a tree. So the core of the tree would start to rot. On the outside, it might still look strong, but the core starts to rot. When the core starts to rot, the energy of the seed that used to once reach the whole tree can no longer do that because it's rotting. Because there's blockages, there's things missing. Just like within our bodies, we have to keep energy channels open. Within a tree, when it starts rotting, the energy does not reach the branches, the leaves, the fruit. And then what happens to the fruit, the leaves and the branches? They would fall off. They would fall off. And because they're disconnected now from the seed, they no longer receive their nourishment. And because they no longer receive their nourishment, they start deteriorating as well. This was it. I remember just sitting down and writing about this poem at the time, and I was sitting in a garden at the time, outdoors on my laptop writing, and it was a wonderful experience of actually a flower just fell and landed on my laptop on the side. So, wonderful flower just fell there. So I picked it up, put it to one side and continued writing. But presently, just looking at that flower, and then I carried it with me and took it around with me for the day. And from when it landed on my laptop that morning to what it was like at the end of the day, big degradation. And that degradation happened very, very quickly. So we're going to use this analogy of a tree and take it to a more of a cosmic level or a level where we can see how we're actually all connected, because we're all connected to a seed. So the seed of the tree, in our analogy, is the divine, whether it's God or whether it's the benevolent force, whatever you see it as. The seed itself is the divine. And the first thing that emerges from the divine is actually not upwards, it's not the physical. It's a very subtle thing. It's something that goes down into the ground. And these are sort of known as the root souls, the souls that have a loving connection with the divine. And their vibration spreads a vibration of peace into the world. On a physical level, they may be ordinary. Anybody can do it. But because they've had this internal transformation going on, they become those that leave an impact and influence of peace wherever they go, with whoever they're with, because they're completely independent. But their connection is with the seed. They are the closest to the seed, so they'll always have a connection and receive a current, an energy from the seed. So once the establishment of the roots take place through these root souls, the next thing that emerges is the trunk. And the trunk represents life in harmony, the age of truth, or a time on this earth when there wasn't so many divisions. Each branch, so there is a particular time where there is no divisions. There is like one world unity and harmony. And then as each branch comes about, they are the establishments of different ways of life, different religions, each one thinking their branch is their tree, but actually they're all part of a bigger tree. So we have the branch of Abraham, and they all bring their own very valuable message. So the message of one seed, one seed of the living tree. And then the next main branch was the branch of Buddhism. And the message of Buddhism is whatever you reap, you sow, and self-betterment to achieve enlightenment. And the next branch is Christianity. And Christianity's main message is a message of love. Because at this point in time, people may be suffering a little bit and they see this divine being as a wrathful being, maybe. So this message of divinity is a source of nourishment, a provider, a source of love, the father, the mother. So this was the message of that particular branch. And then what happens is with each branch, as they grow, they divide and divide and divide until we don't really connect with the source of the branch, but we connect with the little twig. And then the fruits, the flowers and the leaves are particular followers of those ways of life. But then when the tree starts rotting, what happens is energy no longer reaches from the seed to those fruits, flowers and leaves. So what happens then is they fall off the tree. People become atheists just because they're no longer able to draw strength and receive a current of energy from the seed. It's just the due course of nature. Okay, so that's that particular bit done in terms of the wisdom there. So now we're going to take this into a meditative experience. Where would you find yourself? Are you a fruit? Are you a flower? Are you a leaf? Or are you a root? Those that are closest to the divinity, that support the tree, and actually re-establish and remove the rot, are the root. Those that create a loving connection with divinity, then actually support the whole tree. If the roots weren't there, the tree cannot stand. So this is our meditative experience now. Coming to the seed, serving with a peaceful vibration as we are root souls. So taking a comfortable seat, bringing your awareness to the breath. Becoming as still as possible. You can keep your eyes opened or closed. It's your choice. And just become seated at the center of the forehead. I, the soul, residing within the body, this higher level of consciousness. We're going to go to our foundation of being easy-natured, flowing as life comes and goes. But we keep a connection to our foundation of divinity, our foundation where we receive a current of strength, which allows us to go underground within ourselves. Be next to the seed. Supporting the whole tree of creation. Those that look beyond roles of different ways of life, and make a connection to the seed, personal connection. And it's through this divine connection, spread an incognito, underground vibration into the world. Om Shanti. So thank you very much. I know I had quite a lot of. We had quite a lot of information there, meditation experience. So now there's a bit of time. We have 5 minutes or so. Sorry, I overran a bit. I was supposed to give you 10 minutes, but if anybody has any questions or comments to make, or if there's anybody that wants to share anything, now's the time. No questions? Everybody happy? Brilliant. So normally during a meditation experiment or an exercise, we tend to get into the state where we're completely chilled out, we're completely blissed out. So I hope this experience has been very nice for you. I've taken some benefit from this talk. Quite a lot of sharing this time around, but the main reason for that was because of the laying of the foundation. Normally there'll be 2 poems with a bit more breathing exercises and meditative experiences. But as we were laying the foundation today, about keeping ourselves present, about keeping a cool mind. So I'd just like to share, if there's nobody wants to make any comments or anything, I'd just like to share about the next topic. The next one is going to be on the 2nd and the 4th Sunday of each month. The 2nd and the 4th Sunday of each month is when these particular creative yoga and meditation sessions will take place. So the next session would be on the 9th of May. And just to tell you what the theme for that one would be is, we touched upon it briefly today about keeping a cool mind. But what also is needed with a cool mind is a warm heart. We briefly touched on it in the past as well. So we're looking at the qualities of a cool mind, which requires a level of character strengths, and then the quality of a warm heart. And what are the qualities of a warm heart? So there's 2 particular poems I wish to share on that, but we'll do that another day. So if there's no questions and everybody's happy, I think there was one comment that came up, just a thank you. But yeah, thank you for the session. Brilliant. So I'm glad people are taking benefit from this and this is useful for everybody. Other than that, if anybody wants to share anything, now's the time, or we'll finish here. So we'll finish with a moment of silence. Once again, simply connecting to our own soulful nature. If you need to observe the body and just lengthen, you can do so. Om Shanti. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me today. Bye.